let's jump into it, shall we? Imagine you've fallen extremely ill. You're in immense pain, and you decide that it's time for you to go to the doctor. And you go to the doctor, and he diagnoses you with salmonella. And he prescribes you an antibiotic. And as you're taking the antibiotic, you start to realize it's not helping. Then what? This very often becomes the case now due to antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance is basically bacteria's way to fight against antibiotics which we use to kill. It's very often why penicillin isn't used anymore, because penicillin wasn't used correctly to begin with. The use of antibiotics can be detrimental to our entire mammalia family. According to the CDC, the overuse of antibiotics creates an entire super race of bacteria that are practically indestructible. And that same logic can be applied towards livestock. In fact, according to the FDA, many producers are using livestock antibiotics unreasonably, and it's causing a lot of problems with antimicrobial resistance. As a former pre-pharmacy student and a current animal science student, I speak to you today because I'm very passionate on the fact that I believe that farm animals need to be raised more organically, grass-fed. So, without further ado, I'm here to discuss the overuse of antibiotics in livestock. Antibiotics can be extremely helpful. They're used to kill countless diseases. In fact, according to WHO, antibiotics are very helpful, but at what cost? Also according to WHO, antimicrobial resistant bacteria is becoming a problem, an issue that we need to address. The FDA is worried this use is going to wipe out entire populations of swine, of cows, and eventually it's going to get to us. And if we don't start now, our antibiotics might not help us at all in the future. But I know what you're wondering. Why would we even use antibiotics if there's all these risks associated with them? Well, antibiotics are still used to kill countless diseases. And in fact, in a study led by Hao Heong from the Frontiers of Microbiology, he explains that many producers use antibiotics because they produce bigger animals. In fact, antibiotics such as ionophores, they make animals produce less methane so that more animals can be housed together. So they're oftentimes used on cows and swine because they're huge methane producers so that more cattle can be crammed into the same barn. But at what cost? The issue isn't the antibiotics, it's the amount. In a federal report by the FDA, 4.4 million kilograms squared units of antibiotics are being used for non-therapeutic purposes. That accounts for 48% of all antibiotics purchased in 2018. There's a slight problem with that. Many producers are potentially harming the earth as we know it. Right now, it's completely behind the scenes in the meat that we eat every day. According to ag journalist Alec Nelson, probiotics would work in a way more efficient and non-damaging way. Antibiotic resistance is a serious problem being brought forth and becoming more prevalent as our science evolves. And many producers are just doing it to make a quick buck. It's terrifying to think that we could lose a family pet, a loved one. We could lose an entire species of livestock simply because we're not taking the steps necessary to combat antibiotic resistance. I leave you with this. Don't abuse antibiotics. If we don't do something soon, the world as we know it can be over. Thank you.